While the Grey Company journeyed south to the aid of Aragorn, we came upon a Dunlanding hag named Gwillian, called the Old Woman of the Mountain. She sought to raise an army of ancient evil to aid the White Hand against Rohan. It was our duty, Amlon's and mine, to keep her at bay.
Welcome! This is Pineleaf Needles for Pineleaf Plays the Rune-keeper. And today we're going to play Storm on Methedras, the third of the skirmishes that you have starting at level 20. Though this is one that if you're not a VIP member you'll have to purchase. In the Windfills of Enedwaith we first encountered the hag Gwillian. There she was using her evil powers to summon fells. Actually, it's probably best that I don't read this entire thing. The point is that you met Gwillian in your travels in Enedwaith and again in Dunland, and this is your third encounter with her, so it's rather strange that they're opening this skirmish at level 20. Come on, come on! Seems like to just skip. I have trouble getting that to get to the target I want. Alright, now. This is going to be a little tougher skirmish, which is why I decided to do this at tier 1 instead of tier 2, because it can get quite hectic. And if you're not careful, the rangers can easily get killed. Especially considering it's low level, which means that as usual your friends are as paper thin as your enemies. Oh yeah, it's very easy to kill your enemies, but it's also very easy for the enemies to kill your friends. And you don't want the rangers to die. Alright. Oh, there we go. Alright, that's the first area. Now we have the rangers come up here. Now we continue on, and if Saradin gets killed, then the skirmish is over. Actually, let me draw this guy immediately. Uh-oh. I didn't see him around. Yeah, Defenders of the Wild. Area can cover. Now, the trouble is that the lieutenants aren't part of the counterattacking force. That was just a patrolling lieutenant that happened to be in the area, so therefore the other next counterattack will start. Actually, it looks like another example, that must have been an extra also, since the next counterattack started before he got killed. And that happens quite a bit here, getting extras that aren't intended to be part of the counterattack in there. And that's what makes this a rather hectic skirmish sometimes. Now here's the encounter mob, and the encounter mobs come at the end about the middle of the third counterattack. So this is a skirmish that has 3 counterattacks. In a similar way to Assault on the Ringwraith's Lair, except in Assault on the Ringwraith's Lair, the third counterattack includes exactly 2 lieutenants, except raids, of course. While in this skirmish, the third counterattack includes a regular counterattack, and halfway through we get this encounter mob that in many ways is similar to a lieutenant, where they have lieutenant-like abilities. Alright, here we go. Now the trouble is it's hard to see that when you're going through them so quickly at this low level. At higher levels though, of course, everything lasts a little bit longer. So you can actually see what abilities they're using. Alright, here's the second one. Okay. Forestborn Reaver. This is going to be tough. So I want to make sure I don't get the Forestborn Reaver here. But of course, it's not all that rare for the Rangers to go after the mob out there. So I'm hoping that if you get one that fights at range, then the Rangers go out, then they pick up a few friends, so it can get rather nasty there. Like this guy. Here it is. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I managed to do this without bringing out the Forestborn Reaver. That's good. Now I think we still have the encounter mob. I sort of killed them, to say, way too fast. Usually they spawn about halfway through the wave, but at low levels you get through the wave so quickly that we're able to get through all the mobs before they come. Now here are the... This is a double encounter, 2 signatures. And they actually count as 2 separate encounter mobs. If you look on here, so now I have 3 of 9. Because they are counted separately, despite the fact that they invariably spawn together. I've never seen them spawn separately, and I think if you ever do see them spawn separately, it'll be due to a bug. And that probably goes to a tradition going all the way back to Moria, where you have 2 of those monsters do like to spawn together. For example, there's this Moria instance. Let's see. New Devilry, where you face 2 of those things at a time as one of the bosses. Here we go. Now this is the 3rd area, and this is the last of the areas before the boss fight. They have all these monsters here that you don't meet in lower levels. You only meet them in this skirmish when you're at lower levels. All the fiendish goats, those Kuthro. I don't think we met any of the dogs that you meet in this area here. So it can get quite in... So you have all these new mobs that you face here, but as I said, it also is a bit of a spoiler for a story you have in there. So if you don't want to know the spoiler, you might want to leave. Though of course, it doesn't have much. I guess they don't talk too much about it. And in that dialogue, they probably did mention it, but as I said, you will be meeting her in a couple of cases in Enid White and later in Dunland. Ah! What's he doing back here? Did he get killed? Ah. Oh, great. Yeah, now this is not going to go too well. Because now I have to get back there before Sheridan gets killed. Didn't time that very well, obviously, because if I was just trying to get that bubble off. Looks like I'm a bit paper thin also on this. Alright, let's see. Am I going to get in there in time? Now, that wasn't Sheridan there. That was the other ranger, and he's allowed to die. Probably lose some defender points when that happens. Alright. That was not the best run I've had of this. Now you know why I ran it at tier 1 instead of tier 2. Now, did I loot the body there? Alright, so I got both of my bounties. Good. There's both loot on the body and in the treasure chest. So this is one of the few this is the only skirmish I know of that does that. And that concludes Storm on Methedras. So now I've run each of the 3 skirmishes once on this character. So therefore next time is going to be after they release Update 13, or at least after Update 13 is posted on Bull Roar, so that I have a better idea of what level to handle things at, because I don't want to level before going off into the North Downs, at least not until I know what the level is going to be there, and I certainly don't want to start doing higher level quests while at the low level until I know whether or not I should be leveling or not leveling. So then, we'll take a little break on this character until we know more about it, and that's most likely going to be next week when they put Borer up. Until then, though, you can see me on my Lore Master. On Pineleaf Plays the Lore Master, or if you're not watching my Lore Master, then tune in probably at least a week before I come back to here on Pineleaf Plays the Rune-keeper. Good day.